First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd ask everyone to stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jessica is subbing in for Ms. Sherby. Jessica, would you please call the roll?
Present.
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 Present. Present.
Present. We do have a quorum, and thank you everybody for attending. Are there any presentations this evening?
No, there are not.
Anything? Okay, before we go into public comments and questions, I would ask for a moment of silence. Most of you know Maureen Potempa had lost her mother earlier this week, and I would ask a moment of silence in her mother's, who's also named Maureen's Ledvida, her memory. Thank you, everybody. Okay, item number 5, public comments and questions. To give as many visitors as possible an opportunity to speak, and in the interest of adjourning by 9, please limit comments to 3 minutes in length, unless further time is granted by the board. Questions on active or general matters. I know our clerk may have had a slip filled out or whatever.
Good evening. I'm George Byron. I live at the Courtyards of Westchester in Westchester, Illinois. I've been a resident of Westchester for approximately 40 years. Prior to that, living at 720 Hull in Westchester. I'm here to talk about the amending of the water rates that you do. At the moment, I understand it's 9,000 gallons is the minimum, and that there is supposedly a proposal to change that. Am I correct in that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I'm in favor of it. I lived in this town, like I said, almost 40 years. There are a lot of senior residents, and in our complex we have 98 units filled with a lot of seniors, and I do believe that we should be charged exactly what we use. If we use 500 gallons, maybe round it to the nearest 1,000 maybe. But the way it is now and the way it's been for the last 23 years or more is that you're charging me a minimum when I only use maybe 2,000 gallons. I don't think it's fair. And in this day and age when Social Security hasn't gone up, people's budgets have gone down, the amount of money that you get on income tax and that is very minor. So I think that we ought to change the rules and do whatever you do to get it on a fair basis.
So I guess I'm gathering that you're a proponent of what we're looking to do is going to a monthly billing system with no minimum. There'll be fees, user fees for, all the pipes in town. There is a fee associated with that. Whether you use 1 gallon or 100 gallons, we're all part of a piping system. So I think we explained it in the newsletter of what we're looking to do. But I think for those users, and one of the reasons we did bring this up was because, my father, when he was alive, was a senior, used 4,000 gallons in a quarter, and sometimes even less than that. So at the end of the year, he theoretically paid for 36,000 gallons, although he's only used like 12, if that. So we're trying to make it more fair and equitable. If you use a slight amount, there's actually a reduction based on the percentages that we see at certain levels. So we're trying to be equitable to everybody, and and change the game a little bit.
If the price of water is $20 a thousand, I'm just throwing that out, and if somebody uses 4,000, 4 times 20 would be $80 plus sewer and whatever this other new pipe thing, which shouldn't be thousands of dollars.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand that, what the fee would be for that. So in majority of cases, if the old people, and that's me, don't use but only 2,000 gallons or something, the price of that should come down so that when the water rates go up by Chicago or that other area there, then we could handle it as a senior.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. So thank you for your commentary. Anyone else? Anyone else? Once? Twice? 3 times. Okay. We'll move on to public hearing. I believe we do not have any.
No, we do not.
Okay. Our next item is certainly the consent agenda. We have items A through G. Item A, approval of the record of bills ending 1/7 of 16 in the amount of $2,202,709 and $709.38. I don't think we have the minutes. We have to pull those, correct?
Table that until next meeting?
So all the December ones we're going to table, so we're going to table the bills. Approval of monthly reports. I think Melissa gave us hers for community development. We have police, fire, public works. Item D, an ordinance amending the Westchester Municipal Code regarding the billing and payment procedures for water and sewer service within the village. Item E, an ordinance amending the Westchester Municipal Code regarding parking restrictions during snow removal. Item F, a resolution approving and authorizing change order number 3 and 4 to a contract between the village and Berger Excavating and for services related to the Mayfair Reservoir Expansion Phase 2. And item G, a resolution advising, consenting to, and ratifying the appointment of certain officers. And I would indicate for the record, Brian Doroff for the Economic Development Committee and Mary Pyra Roberts, if I said that correctly, for the Citizen Advisory Board. So we have a name on the record here. I would like to pull E and F, if that's okay with everyone. And if anyone else needs something pulled, please let us know.
Mr. President,
Yes,
did you
sir.
say that the bills were being tabled?
No, the
So I
minutes,
thought I
I'm sorry.
heard too.
Yeah, I thought you said.
I heard it.
The minutes, item
Okay,
B, I'm sorry.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I'm sorry, Michael. So, anything else needs to be yanked? No. Okay. Is there a motion and a second to approve A, C, D, and G as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
Angelo and Tom? Jessica, please call the roll. Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Oh, our council wanted me to advise you that the minimum fee had been eliminated as a result of their vote, so just some information. Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, I've asked for item E to be pulled, and I just have some commentary on that. I think I'm certainly in favor of it, but this is an ordinance amending the Westchester Municipal Code regarding parking restrictions during snow removal. And if you all remember, I brought this up in response to years and questions of the big snow that we had in December of making the alternate parking also apply on Saturdays and Sundays. So is there a motion and a second for the approval, and then we can discuss it?
Second.
Carl and Frankie. Okay, motion's on the table. Now, what I'm suggesting is, I'm going to say we're a little late in the game with this. And I know that there's been some mock-ups of some signage in the changing of the signs to reflect those extra dates in that. And what I would ask the board is that we pass this tonight, but we do not put it into effect until next winter season. I don't believe we're going to be able to sticker all these signs. I'm not sure that the stickers are going to stick in the winter themselves, and it would be very confusing, and I think that the police department has enough to do in the village as well to answer questions for people that do not get the message succinctly that we've added these two dates. So I'm asking that this be approved, because I am certainly in favor of this, but I would ask that while we're getting the signage together, this will give Robert maybe a little bit more time to get it done right, and that we put this in place for next snow season. So that would be my thought to this. Does anyone have any change or whatever? I just think we're a little late in the game right now to throw this out there, and it may be more detrimental to the people we're trying to help than what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Give everybody a fair warning.
So, Mike, is there any issue with that at all?
No, in fact, I would suggest that Section 3 be amended to read, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect on, and I was going to say December 1st, 2016, but we experienced snow in November this year, so.
November 1st.
November 1st? You know, if it
November
snows, you
1st,
gotta move
16?
your car anyway, so.
Does anyone disagree with that?
No.
So
We have ample time to advise through the newsletter, website, everything else. So next year, there should be no questions whatsoever.
So the maker and the seconder need to accept that amendment to Section 3 to read, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect on November 1st, 2016, after its passage and approval as provided by law.
Carl and Frank, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
Any issues
good.
with that,
No,
gentlemen
not at
and
all.
ladies? No. Okay, the motion is on the floor as amended by both Carl and Frankie. Jessica, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Sosna?
Aye.
Trustee Perry?
Aye.
Trustee Popazza?
Aye.
Trustee Rita?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
Trustee Yukovic?
Aye.
And Trustee Peters?
Aye, motion carries. Item F, a resolution approving and authorizing change order number 3 and 4 to a contract between the Village of Westchester and Berger Excavating Contractors for related services to Mayfair Reservoir Expansion Phase 2. I'd like to place this in discussion. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is it Angelo and Frank?
And for Open Meeting Act purposes, the dollar amount of these change orders totals $171,096.91.
Sorry, Mike, I should have
It's
read
okay.
that into the record.
It's okay.
This is my issue with this. At other meetings, we all have had some consternation regarding the second phase of this, which is related to Carlisle and the digging of the pipe and the added pieces that we added to finish the project and not do it kind of half-assed, so to speak. In speaking with Public Works employees who may not have been part and parcel to some of the design phases, as Robert may not have been part of that as well. In looking at Kensington Street, when we look at the original plattings of that street, the lots were 37 and a half feet. And based on the streets adjacent to that, all those 37 and a half foot lots had stubs put in by the persons who laid the pipe prior to the houses even being put in or proposed or purchased. Subsequent to that, it appears that the lots were changed to a 50-foot lot. So it is quite possible, and in speaking to staff who have fixed a number of sanitary sewers and reattached many laterals, they do not know of any time that there was a home that had 2 lateral connections. Not a one. So as it was proposed, that it was quite possible that somebody had a lateral line from the main to their home for their sump pump and one for their gutter downspouts, because we are a separated system. They cannot tell me of one time that they found that to be true. So, with that, I've asked them, we do have a camera, and I said, is it possible for us to run a camera up those laterals to see which ones are active and which ones that were stubs that may not have been used because they changed the dimensions of the house, and the contractor, when he put the houses in, maybe used a different one, and the other ones are dead stubs. So with that being said, we were told at the last meeting there was $1,400 a lateral, they added extra, and it turned into be $140,000 worth of monies. And of course, I blew a gasket at that meeting, and I'm still blowing a gasket today. I would think that that needs to be explored to find out whether or not they're dead laterals that really there's no reason to hook up and a new pipe for a number of reasons. One reason being, why would you want to put a hole in a brand new pipe that you didn't need? And secondly, why would you hook up a dead lateral? So in a conversation with Robert just before the meeting, our camera may not be suitable to run up that line to see, but Robert does have a plan that when the pipe is removed and we see where these laterals are, that you could put an appliance or a fish tape or something up there, because don't forget, we have sewer mains in the street and the two lines come to it. It's not 5 feet away. These could be X amount of feet into the parkway or even into the front lawns. But I think that it would be worth finding out for once, if we have dead ones, and if there are, why are we bothering them? But we have to make sure, obviously, that every house is connected properly. That's issue one. Issue two is on Buckingham, on Downing, and on Mayfair, where those projects are done. I'm sure that some of those hooked up double laterals that may not have been hooked up. And I believe that the engineer should have known that, that should have been checked before they were hooked up. And I don't know where we go with that at this particular time, but I'm not a happy camper in regards to that, because that was time, effort, energy, and dollars that somebody's paying, which I think the somebody is us, that I would have an issue with. I don't know that to be the fact, but I'm assuming based on some of the maps that I saw that they were all pretty much 37-foot lots, and all were in a similar fashion, although Kensington doesn't show some of the things that the other older maps that are basically on some oil skin that I saw have shown. So I'm hesitant in paying these things off until we do a little bit better of a examination. I don't know that if there's some costs that should be paid, that are necessary to be paid, that are not part of what I'm talking about, that we could certainly go forward and pay those things that are due somebody, as I don't want to short anybody for work that was done that we've basically said okay to. But I have a knot in my stomach over the other one, because I'd like to know if there are double laterals, and if there's not, then why are we hooking up and why are we paying an extra $1,400 per lateral, where I think we could use that money someplace else. So that is my concern. So I don't know if we need to table this for Robert to get a costing of the stuff that we owe that's not in, I'm going to say dispute is probably the wrong word, but that we need more information on, and have an amended payout for those things that are due to us. But we have some time here before we start playing with this in the spring or whatever time we're doing, that I would really like to figure out the best resolution to examine Kensington thoroughly and make sure that we're paying for what we're paying for.
Robert, is there any chance when the lines on the other three streets were excavated and the those lateral lines were exposed. Obviously, they were severed from the old line so they can be reconnected. Is there any chance that there's any indication when you look at those lines that you can tell there was really no flow going through those? You know, one's gonna be, I mean, you know, I'm just kinda, these contractors are digging them up and looking at this stuff. Somebody's gotta look at some of them and say, hey, doesn't look like it's had flowing water through it.
You can on sanitary lines, you look at it, you can tell if they're live or not. These are storm lines. So the storm line is, it can be dry for months, it'll look dry. And the problem we had is when you look at it, you can't tell. So we had to make a decision right there, and when I'm out in the field, I always ask the engineer, what do you think? And they're standing there, I don't know, it's your call. And you just have to hook them up. Otherwise, you leave people on hook, and then they back up. At that time, given the decisions that we had to make, made it up. So it's more difficult. What we've determined is, well, our camera won't go up the lateral, because these laterals go all the way to the parkway, and we're in the middle of the street, so it could be 20, 25 feet. Our camera can only pan up, and you'll see the first 5 or 6 feet. We can get a very small camera on a wand that we can push up to 50 feet. And what we're gonna do is we have a person in the trench as they're excavating inside the trench box. When we run across these laterals, we'll run this camera on the wand. You can rent one for $600 a week. For every one we find, it's like 1,400. So we thought this is probably worth doing. We just have to put one of our staff in the hole. We talked about that internally, and some of the guys have done this before, so we can look at other places. And we want to try this. They should be done with this portion of the work in about 10 days.
It looks like to me.
If we can find two, we've already paid for the effort. And then our work on Kensington, we're gonna try to eliminate all those extra ones that we don't need. And only hook up the ones that, you know, we shove it up 50 feet and it keeps going. So I'm pretty sure that's a connection going to the house. Where we will have difficulty is those 50 feet on both of them, if we can't tell, then what do you do? We'll have to probably hook them up. But it is our best bet that in the re-subdivision that happened, remember it was built late 20s, early 30s, the Depression came, nobody bought houses, so back after World War II, they re-subdivided everything, increased the size of the lots. When the developer came out, he didn't know where the stub was, because 20 years passed, 30 years passed. So they just did a new connection. So we think that's where these double connections are coming from. But there's nothing on the set of plans that allows us to track or find that. We think this is the least expensive way to be out there and to determine which ones we can eliminate. What we don't want to do is expose a homeowner to a backup because we're making a 50-50 call. We want to be 100% certain. For the existing street, Buckingham, Mayfair, that's a little more problematic. We could do some dye testing, run some dye down the pipe and see which ones are live and which ones aren't, and come up with a probability of so many dry connections, so many wet ones. And then at that point, we should know. But we do believe that there's only one per house. So the original change order that we did, change order number 1, was for 1 per house. So I think the difference of what these resulted change orders 3 and 4 are, minus what we saw for change order 1, that's the difference that you're talking about, which is how much extra did we spend that possibly we didn't need to. So I think we could come up with that just by sheer count. Which ones are dry and which ones should have been connected is another story. But in terms of the cost that we had to pay extra for a possible error or omission in the design plans, we could probably figure that out pretty quick.
I'm sorry, anything else, Andrew? As council was reviewing this, it appears that, and make sure we're on the same page with this, that change order 3 is not showing anything regarding the double connections. That is change order number 4. So I think it's quite possible that we can approve change order number 3 for the 27K, and we'll hold number 4 until such time that we get some better information, if that works for everybody.
Do you have a copy of that, Robert? I have one. Change order 3. Looks like the first 2 are for lowering the existing sanitary. 3 is removing a clay line and replacing. 4 and 5 are inlet removals. 6 and 7 are manholes.
Yeah, change order 3 does not involve the double connections.
Okay, so looks like 3 is not in play with regard to.
3 is not in play.
Yes.
And just to be clear, I'm told, these are all clay pipes that are attached to the main. And generally, there is a cap at the end of them. It's not just open. If it's open, our I&I, the inflow would be just, through the ground into that pipe or whatever. These are caps. So provided that the cap isn't broken off or knocked off or missing or whatever, if we put something up that pipe, we should be able to hit something that said it's dead instead of a clear ride. The easiest thing was just hook up what was there, and a little sidebar that Nick and I had where, they take out the main and there's 2 pipes sticking out. Well, these guys don't know. They hooked them both back up. They didn't do the exploration to see if this one went here and this one was dead.
Yeah, but, shouldn't it be on them, either Berger or V3, to look at that stuff before they?
That's why we're discussing it.
Have
my
we
friend.
discussed with them, is that the more viable option on our part to just check them ourselves individually, or is there
It's not a pay item, so the contractor would want payment for that. And,
but is there a better way? Because even this way sounds like it could be, you could go up a line with a camera, even once it's exposed, hit tree roots, just say, and not know that line is attached somewhere at the other end of those tree roots.
Well, I think that we're talking about the dye testing to determine exactly where it's coming out. So once the pipe has gone out of the street and they went to, 1934 Downing or whatever address it is, and they dye tested, you'll be able to see the water come into the open pit and from which lateral it's coming from. So there could be a determination, and that's maybe why, and I'm not swinging a bat for anybody, but it may have been easier just to hook them all up and say, hell with it, than go through that headache of dye testing and time and effort and energy. But I look at it, from Carlisle to the mid-block where the pipe is being whatever, there's how many houses? 6 to 8 maybe on both sides?
But even those old clay lines that aren't being used, there's gotta be some infiltration into those that are still.
Sure, but again, once you hook them back up, you're getting the infiltration whether you want it or
Right.
not.
No, I'm saying, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them hooked up.
Well, I think we have a little bit of a plan. Based on council's representation, if maybe we can amend the resolution. I think, who was it? Was it Angelo and Frank on this one? I'm sorry. That amended only to include change order number 3 and not 4 at this time? Mike, would that be appropriate?
Yes, you can do that, or you could table it until you get more information. It's 2 more weeks that they won't be paid, that's all.
Well, I think that 3, is there anyone see any
Yeah,
reason not
number
to
three
do
has
that
to be
one?
done.
If so, I would suggest we do that. They've earned that money, let's pay it. And certainly the biggie on number 4 is the one that we need some better assessment on. So, if we're good with amending it, Angelo and Frank, to pay number 3 only, we'll reflect that in the minutes and cross out number 4.
And that's in the amount of $27,426.32.
Everybody clear on that? There's a motion and a second on the table for that as amended. No other conversation? Jessica, please.
Trustee Pojemno,
Aye.
trustee Perry,
Aye.
trustee Celestino,
Aye.
trustee Rita,
Aye.
trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Yurkovich,
Aye.
and president Kulia.
Aye, motion carries as well. Thank you, everybody, for your considerations. Item number 8 is an ordinance to approve and authorize a special use permit for the placement of an electronic message board sign at 1840 Westchester Boulevard in the village of Westchester. Is there a motion and a second for
So moved.
approval? Tommy, second.
Second.
Nick? Is there any added discussion on this from the board level? If not, Jessica, please.
Trustee Yurkovich,
Aye.
trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Pojemno,
Aye.
trustee Celestino,
Aye.
trustee Perry,
Aye.
trustee Rita,
Aye.
president Kulia.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 8B, a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Westchester and the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Westchester Sergeants, Chapter number 504. Motion,
So moved.
Second.
Nick and Tom? Discussion, anybody? I'll just make a comment. I think you all know where my thought process is. I mean, the contract is fair as far as the equitable piece here, but you all know that I have a reservation about the BAC level and the level that's presented. So with that, if there's no other comments, Jess, please call the roll.
Trustee Stecker,
Aye.
trustee Yurkovich,
Aye.
trustee Pojemno,
Aye.
trustee Celestino,
Aye.
trustee Perry,
Aye.
trustee Rita,
Aye.
president Kulia.
No. Okay,
Gotta say it passes.
the motion, yeah, passes. Unfortunately, passes. Okay, managers report, Janet.
Okay, just a couple items this evening. Did want to let everybody know that voter registration is now open for the March 16 primary, and anybody who needs to register to vote can come to Village Hall, and we will provide the forms for you. Village Hall will be closed on Monday, January 18th, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. As always, our police and fire will be available 24/7. We have opened the warming center for Village Hall for emergency purposes only. If somebody is in need of temporary shelter, they should report to the police department, and they will register them and get them set up in our community room, which currently is under construction, so hopefully nobody will need that for the next 2 weeks. But we are doing improvement for that. We will. We'll take care of them one way or another, but they won't be in the community room for a few weeks. So, that's all I have this evening. Oh, just everybody can mark their calendars. On Saturday, January 23rd, the Westchester Chamber of Commerce will be hosting its annual Celebrate Westchester event, which is a nice dinner and awards ceremony where several persons of the year will be recognized for their contributions to the village. And it is held at Alpine House, beginning at cocktails at 6 p.m., dinner at 7. So if you'd like to attend that, please contact the Chamber Board.
Here we go. Mr. Attorney.
I don't have a
sir.
report for open session.
Board members. Frankie.
Today we had, the Economic Development Committee had our seminar on the new tax laws of 2016. So that basically brought our project to an end, so we're going to start a new project probably next time. That's all I have.
Just a little information, there were, Janet and I did attend with Melissa. There was probably about 15 persons that were there. It was very well received as far as the tax laws are concerned, not only for some individual things that we didn't know and changes that are coming up, maybe not this year, but next year as well. And for the small business what they can do, and the Affordable Care Act and things of that nature, that people that have employees over a certain number of people need to provide some type of insurance, et cetera, and it was very well received by the gentleman that put it in. One of the things that he said at the end, those of us that, have accounts in overseas, our parents might have an account in London or someplace like that, some bank account, that there's some form that has to be filled out, especially if you are on the account as well, but there may be some tax liability, and if you fail to report, it's 100% grab. So if you had $1 million in account in London and you didn't declare it or fill it out, that the IRS could scoff all of it plus some penalties, which was kind of interesting. What did he say? 77,000 pages of the federal tax code. Unbelievable. So, just some kind of weird stuff that's out there that none of us really know about. Nikolai.
Board of Police and Fire Commission met, and I believe their recommendation, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, is that they've exhausted the list for firefighter candidates, unfortunately, and the recommendation probably to run the next. Okay.
At this point, they're undecided on the final candidates at the top.
Okay. Because otherwise our list is up, I think, this month, correct?
January 9th.
Expired January 9th.
Okay. So otherwise we'll have to go to the next list, and that's about it.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Celestine.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Mr. Carl.
Just want to say my compliments to Robert and the Public Works staff. When I was called in this morning very early, and the first thing I had to do was brush off my car and shovel my snow on the parkway. I noticed the streets were cleaned and dry, and in fact, there were crews out there doing touch-up work, so excellent job this morning dealing with the little event that we had last night. So my compliments to you and the staff.
Thank you, sir. So did you put the plow on the front of your truck and at least plow your street a little bit better?
Didn't have to. My street
Okay.
was clean.
Here we go.
Clean. They even got the inlet. I didn't have to even clean the inlet out. That's how good these guys are.
Nice. Angelo.
Nothing tonight. Some discussion with Jimmy, and he's gonna get into that later, in a little bit.
I have
Tomas.
nothing. I have nothing.
Just, this year, we're gonna, I would say, reinvent ourselves, so to speak, with some of our committees and the volunteer spirit. There's been some conversation regarding that, and I know each one of you who are chairing committees and that work very hard to keep the membership in the right spot, and I think we're gonna do everything we can to engineer that. We certainly encourage volunteerism in anything that we do, as we're a community, so I know that you'll be meeting in the future with your teams and that, and hopefully as we move toward the summer, we'll be able to utilize some of the talent and help to beautify Westchester and doing a couple of things that we want to do and continue the programs that we've done very well. I think, and Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, the West Central Municipal Conference is very impressed with our electronic recycling event, that they're in the planning stages, and they may have picked a date, it's kind of tentative, that in April, WCMC is going to utilize our site, and I would imagine with some of their volunteer help as well, that we're going to have a West Central collection, same credential wholesalers as our vendor, but they've been contacted by WCMC, and then we're going to have a regional event for that, which is a benefit. The question that subsequent to that event, and something that we need to think about, is if you've seen the article in the Tribune regarding the collection of televisions, and we actually pay for television recycling. There's no monetary benefit to us for recycling the televisions. We do get a little bit per pound on some of the other things that we do recycle, but a number of the other communities have not, they don't take anything but their resident stuff. And I'm not sure we're gonna go down that path, but certainly we need to have a discussion regarding that, pending any law changes that may be on the horizon in this next legislative session. So I know there's some things that are out there, but I don't want to be premature, but I just want to put it in our heads that there may be a change of dynamics necessary, as, this shouldn't cost us other than sweat equity. So just kind of a thought process. President's report, I'll leave the rest of my stuff for the information so we can move on. Mike, is there an exec? Janet, do we need an exec? We're gonna have, and this is for 5 Ilix 122C1 to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, and that'll be done after our committee of the whole. Is that not correct? Okay. With that, is there a motion, a second, to adjourn this board meeting?
So moved.
You did not do department head report.
Oh, I'm sorry. God, I'm trying to move it quite along. After I asked Mike to be here from his staff and command class. Before we adjourn, Michael? Sure.
Finished staff command on Friday. We did receive the new squad that we applied for through the JAG grant for county. We received that grant, the assistance of administrative consulting services, and reimbursement was sent into the county yesterday. It's planning on about 6 to 8 weeks.
Great.
Pretty much it.
Did
Thank
we
you.
have to pay anything into that grant? Do you know?
No, well,
No.
we have to pick up the remainder for the cost of the vehicle and the changeover.
Mhm.
But it's minimum compared to that $28,000 grant.
And I think it included some equipment and transfer, correct, Mike, if I'm not mistaken? Great, thank you. James?
A couple of things. First, I want to recognize police officers Tontis and Borkovic. They actually assisted the residents out of a house during a dryer fire that occurred on the evening of December 30th over on Hawthorne. Got the assisted the residents to safety. And also later that evening or early morning on December 31st, we also had a kitchen fire over on Hull. And Police Officer Kirk, after hearing dogs barking in the basement, brought one dog out of the basement and notified my personnel of a second dog, which they removed safely as well to get the animals out safely. Those residents had self-evacuated themselves. Janet mentioned the warming center. I'm also this week finalizing my first application for a FEMA AFG grant to fund the installation of a fire alarm system at Station 1 and a sprinkler and fire alarm system at Station 2. The total grant amount is $83,950, of which, if we're awarded, the village is only responsible for about $4,100 as a result of the grant. And then lastly, in order to keep my department moving forward here, I've actually had my officers here as well, obviously, as you can see. I want to recommend to the board that we make the next set of promotions and just give some reasons behind it at this point, if you'll have me.
Absolutely.
First and foremost, obviously overtime's great when it's new. Everybody likes the money and everything. Over time, though, when it becomes a burden, it becomes hard on the firefighters being at work so much and away from their families. So physically, it's hard. The board's decision is not to promote without any real visible reasoning as to why not to promote has been negatively impacting the morale of the members, and it also has been leading to some rumors about why, and what the deal is. And it's hard to quell those rumors. The board's decision of not committing to promotions also creates an illusion that the board doesn't support the fire department, but I know you do. I really do, and I try to make that point known to them as well. New lieutenants, I'd like to get into a company officer class at NIPSTA. It's not offered very often. I have one of them signed up, and if the other is able to get promoted, I can see if I can get him in before that class fills up as well. They only offer that once or twice a year. It's hard to formulate an officer development program as well when I don't have my officer ranks filled. Due to the open officer positions occurring so close to each other, with Captain DeBoer and Captain Labita retiring so close unexpectedly, the reassigning of officer responsibilities has been really difficult. When I don't have all the positions filled, it's hard to train a guy when he may or may not have it for a short-term or long-term reasoning. The board's decision not to fill the open ranks becomes a motivational killer to the fire department members who have aspirations of promoting to the next level. It also discourages members from participating in a promotional process, especially after we have a third-party agency coming in and doing the testing to alleviate anybody saying something's not right with the testing process. Logistically, it's difficult to plan the scheduling, vacations, training, and schooling, and any future plans, not knowing what the future actually holds. These are funded positions that are in the current budget. Since Captain Labita's retirement on October 30th, we've spent $18,788 in officer overtime alone due to the vacant officer positions only. And I was actually just informed as recent of today that I've had an officer who's been having some medical issues, and he's been seeing doctors, and he made me aware today that actually he's more than likely going to have surgery in February and going to be off for 2 months, which is going to create even more overtime. I don't know if you remember back in September, the day that Captain Labita presented me with his letter of intent to retire, I had recommended to the board to promote and hire. At that time, no action was taken. Then fast forward up to October 27th after DeBoer, this was the first meeting after Captain DeBoer's letter of intent to retire was handed to me. I recommended to the board to promote the open positions and hire 2 firefighters. At that time, we promoted 1 captain and 1 lieutenant position, obviously, and to hire 2 firefighters, which has been a struggle to get those 2 hired at this point. And as I said earlier, the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners has not given a decision on the final candidates, so we've had no new firefighters to fill those vacant firefighter positions. And at this point, firefighter Leza, who's been overseas with the military, he's hoping he's going to be able to get home early, but at this point his orders still say February 26th, so I have to assume he's not going to be home till February 26th. So we're hurting, and you know, like I said, I'm making a strong recommendation. I know the guys are here to support the decision, because obviously a lot of this falls on them as well to pick up the extra responsibilities, the extra hours. If you have any questions or anything for them or myself, like I said, it's something that we really need to make a decision on sooner than later at this point, because it's just costing more money. Guys, thankfully, are staying healthy, but the more work that they see, you know, the more risk that they have as well. So I'm recommending to the board that we make promotions and try to get these guys in the door, the new firefighters in the door as soon as possible as well.
Okay, you know, part of our exec sessions talks about appointment and things of that nature, and I'm sure that Janet has thought about that, and there'll be some conversation relative on the exec side about where we're trying to go. You know, you may be aware certainly that we had the McGrath study, and there were some thoughts in there about doing stuff a little bit differently and examining that document that slowed up the process somewhat, which you're well aware of without commenting about anything that was talked about in exec session about any position or personnel. I would like to hear a little bit from the FD guys. You know that I think everybody on this board has the utmost respect for everything that you do, like we do with the police and public works and that. But if any of the active firefighters that are here, welcome. It's nice to see you guys show up at the meeting. I know we've had Sean on a number of occasions sub in for Jim and doing an admirable job in representing you guys. So if there's something that someone would like to say, please do. You know, this is your town as much as it is ours.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate one of the points that the chief had mentioned. I had a discussion with the village manager a couple months ago when the board had decided that they weren't going to promote after I believe it was Captain Levita who had handed in his papers. You know, she had asked me how I thought that was going to go over, and I said, you know, just like you know, in any other business or any other industry, when something changes as far as what we've done in the past, which is the retirement of an officer brings about a promotion of a firefighter up to fill that position. When something changes from that, it's going to leave a void of information. When there's no answers there to provide for that, that's when rumors and speculation start. And I would say that is the one thing. I picked up a lot of the overtime, and to the chief's point, you know, the money is great, but it does take a toll on your family when you're away for 3 out of 4 days, basically, is what it comes down to. But I would say that the thing that we're fighting more than anything are the rumors that are going around the fire department in terms of what is the reason behind holding off for this period of time. So I would 100% back what the chief has requested and just ask that, you know, a decision be made so we can move the department forward.
You know, there's been a lot of changes in the last couple months with people retiring and that, and you know, it's no mistake or no thought that, you know, based on the McGrath study, there were some confidence questions, and I guess, you know, I'll poignantly ask you the question is, how confident do you believe the department is in the competency level? And, you know, we want the best, obviously, for the residents who pay the freight and the best service. And there's been, you know, thoughts about second ambulance and better service and, you know, this kind of stuff that we believe that the residents are due. And I think our cautionary move is holding back a little bit until we understand and that we have the best confidence level as well. But you've been a member of the department 30 plus years. We've worked together, you know, in my capacity as well. And I'd like to hear from all of you, if I can. How do you think the department is going? And, you know, the chief ain't here. He's out in the lot sitting in his cart. Where do you see the department going in the future? And how can we help you attain that goal? And I think first and foremost what you've just said is get off your ass and make the appointment and let's move on and hire the new guys as they come, because the list is exhausted. We got to run a new test and let's get your butt moving. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing. But you've been here a long time. You know, there's no water off your head. What do you think of the department and where we're going and what we should be doing?
I've served underneath a number of chiefs with a terrific amount of experience, you know, when they took over that position. And I don't have to pretend like the chief's out in the car because I've had the discussion with him. When he got put in that position, he jumped from a lieutenant over the captain's spot into the chief position. I did not put in for the chief position because I know my limitations. I don't carry a balance on my checkbook, much less try to figure out a budget. I knew that was not a position for me. I told him going from that lieutenant spot, you know, as a part-time shift commander and a line officer into that top seat, you know, making the decisions for an entire department, he was overwhelmed. I told him that, and I believe it from my heart. It would have overwhelmed me going as a 13-year captain. Subsequent to that, I've seen him grow as a chief, and I have full confidence in him now at this point that he has picked up. He has learned on the fly, if you will, as anybody who gets put in there as a first-time chief is going to have to do, and I think he's very capable right now. And I think with a little bit of, with continued support, let me put it, you know, that way, I think you have a good officer now, a good chief officer that can lead this department. You know, a correlation I can make is if you have a good young athlete coming in and playing, you know, the first couple of years and trying to learn how to hit that fastball, that curveball, and then he starts making the turn, and then you say, well, he hasn't done it for the first couple of years, so now we're going to let him go. I honestly believe years as chief is going to serve him going forward, and I think he'd be very happy with it. That's for my part. I can turn it over to anybody else who wants to talk about it, but that's what I think.
And I would ask the same questions of Pat and George, Travis.
Hi, my name is Travis Brown.
Now you turned it off.
You could talk loud.
Travis Brown was a lieutenant on the department. I know almost all of you guys here. I'm almost a lifelong resident. I now live in town with my family and can honestly say that not just the fire department, but the police department, I think, do stellar jobs. I've had a number of run-ins with my family members, friends who have needed help from everybody. I think that, along with Public Works, I think that this village has really good people working for them. I really do. I've been on the department 23 years now, and in those 23 years, I have met great guys. Just like anything else, you have questionable people, questionable decisions that are made, but on a whole, I think that our village is run well. I really do. From you guys on down. As far as the fire department goes, I have full confidence in my chief. I always have, not just because he's a friend of mine, but because I think he does a great job. Sean makes a very good point that this was a learning experience for him, and I think he's done very well. I think he's coping very well. Concerning some of the comments that were made, confidence issues, other things that relate to promotions of firemen to officers and officers on up. Everybody knows situations that have happened over the last couple of years between union issues, between the McGrath study, between everything else that happens. And I think that people make bad choices sometimes. I think good people make bad choices or even questionable decisions. But from what I could see, I don't think that any of those decisions are service related, are fire department related. I don't think that if any of you called for our services, that any of the issues that might relate to your lack of confidence, so to speak, would be present or evident. I think that we all do a great job. Excuse me, my voice is going. I think we all try very hard. I think that they're all very good guys. And I think that as far as, you know, fire department is a little different. Nick, you know this. You're there 24 hours. It's, you know, it's a little house. It's a little family. And you got a brother that makes a bad decision, and sometimes you get on him, and sometimes people do right things. And I think that on a whole, when that alarm goes off, for whatever reason it is, I think all of us, from the officers on down, are very professional, and I think they do a great job. I think, once again, I'd like to say the chief is doing a great job, I think, and I think, I reiterate what Sean said, I think he can do a great job for years to come.
Thank you. Anyone else? Now's the time. Anyone? Patrick, you're the newest captain in the game.
I've known Jim my whole career too. He was, the chief was hired after I was, off an excellence. I've been on for 26 years. It was a little rocky start. I applied for the chief position also. I knew it was a long shot, but I wanted to go through the process to see what it was like. It's not something you get to do every day. He said we're trying to build for the future. We got a plan like for the new guys. You know, I do the training for the department, for all the guys. It takes a lot of planning, you know, to try to plan for the officers, for the firemen, and then especially when the new guys come on. You know, there's things I gotta update, books I gotta put together. Janet saw me here one Saturday. I was there for like 3 hours copying through our probationary manual because I had to update it. It hadn't been updated in a lot of years. And now with you guys coming on again, I have to go through that manual again and update it again. And it's a whole program I put together for the new guys to track them from day one all the way to the end of the year, the end of their probation. And I continually got to go through this book and update it all the time. It takes a lot of planning and time to get that, plus the monthly training. And by not making the promotions or getting these guys on, it's just slowing the pace up. And I said the chief, has he been 100%? No, it was a learning curve from the beginning. You know, he jumped from lieutenant right to chief. I knew it would overwhelm me. I get overwhelmed in training, trying to get all the training done for everybody, you know, working with the state and all all the other departments to make sure we make all the compliance. And one thing, even with all the friction we may have had in the past, there was one thing the study had said, you know, when we went out on the street, every guy always gave 100% of our service, never saw. And the chief always stood behind the guys, was always back the guys, and always tried to progress us forward. And he's really grown into the position of being chief. And now things are really starting to move a lot more forward, and we're trying to keep things moving forward.
George, I think you're last but not least, buddy.
They all kind of covered what I was going to cover, but, yeah, I completely back the chief. You kind of look at, you can compare the chief to fire department to a car. Chief's the engine, the captain's the transmission, the lieutenant's are the drive shaft, and the firemen are the wheels. If all those pieces aren't in place, it doesn't work. So.
See somebody hiding in the back. Jason?
Firefighter Sudaz, been on the department about 6 years. Been here since day one with Chief. I spent about a year or so with Belmonte. I can tell you in the last 5 years, much to what Captain Casey said, it started slow. It's gotten better and better and better, and he's turned himself more into a fire chief. Probably how a fire chief's supposed to be. I don't know. I'm not a fire chief. A lot like what George said, we need our parts to make this car go. It's a lot of the problems that we have and the issues that we're dealing with are lack of manpower, guys working too much, and to give you that service that we need, we really need our manpower and our officers. And those are our leaders, those are the guys we look up to. And right now, we just don't have all of them. So guys work really hard to get their positions. And spend a lot of time. They're 10, some 15, some 20 years on the job. And it's not me personally, but I know for those guys, it's got to be very hard to wake up every morning and not know what's going on and have that grinding on you, which in turn could affect your performance on the job. I don't know if it is, but for me, it was very hard. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, again, we have the ability to discuss some of the appointment and employment pieces in our exec session, and we will do so. I want to thank all you guys for coming and your support and your commentary. It certainly is welcome, especially for me, the chair, and I would imagine the whole board. So, thank you, gentlemen. Gregory.
Give him the mic that doesn't work.
Yes, it will. I don't know how to go after that. Does anyone want to talk about me?
You're next time.
Thank you. Oh, boy. No, but transitioning into special events for 2016, just to let everybody know, although we don't have a budget, we don't have any of that planned as of yet, we are going to meet in the very near future, and our current talk is to do the two events, specifically the two big events, being the barbecue as well as the music fest. I spoke with Gary, who's just preliminarily putting together #1 dates and speaking with this Woodridge Park District about getting the stage with Woodridge and Naperville for the July and the August event. He's already gotten calls, apparently, from some of the bands that have played at our former events. So, again, we don't have anything that we can sign with anybody yet, but in terms of at least getting somebody locked into the discussion phase sooner than we've done in the past, we're hoping to do that within the coming weeks. Just to mention the names, although they're not signed, as I said, American English, Blues Brothers, ARA, some of the bigger acts that have brought out some interest in the past will be coming. So hopefully at next meeting, I'll either have a date for a meeting that we're getting together and discussing it deeper, or possibly have had that meeting. Not sure as of yet. We're trying to get all the people together. Moving on to another issue, or not issue, but another topic. as I always do, with regards to the debt recovery. Since I've, when I was gone on vacation, put together some of the numbers, tried to get some of the missing data that was not uploaded. So a lot of the 2015 outstanding data was not in the system. So coming for this tax year, those names and fees have been uploaded. So to give you some big numbers here, start with the amount that we've collected, and it's $175,619 from 1,400 people. To put that in perspective, we had $1,288,100 outstanding. So coming into this tax year, don't know where that's going to fall yet, but we were at the end of the previous tax year when we started this, so we're hoping to gain some of that. To make, or to point out, I should say, information on those that were added on December 30th, there was $190,650 added to the system. We'll have to see how that pans out, but again, the total remaining in for this tax year is $1,112,000. So see where that goes, but just wanted to give an update on that. I know I spoke with the mayor as I was entering that information in, and I also resubmitted some of the names that didn't match in the previous entry phase of last year. So again, we'll see where that turns out. I know every time I do pass by the mayor and give him some updated information on it, where we're at, how many people, as well as how much we've collected, comes up. So that's all I have.
Anybody have a question for Greg? If not, we'll move right along. Robert.
Wanted to announce that we got notice for the retirement of Jerry Malik. He's our chief mechanic. He's been with the village over 20 years, and his last date will be February 29th. Leap day, I guess. We get him for one extra day. As on your way in, you may have noticed we're experiencing a main breakout on Roosevelt Road over by the Shell gas station, just immediately west of the boulevard. It's proven to be a double break, so we found a second leak after we fixed the first one, and we're trying to track down where that's occurring. It's not a daylighting leak, and this is typical of some of these older mains. This particular one off Roosevelt Road is very old main, and this broke, but it's not surfacing. It's just immediately draining into our sewer system. So they're out there tonight still working on it while it's below zero. So kudos to the crews. They're keeping at it until they get it fixed. That's all I have.
Yeah, they've had probably about a half a dozen since the beginning of the year. I think they usually come in threes, just like other things come in threes that we won't talk about. But I know they've had a couple of them, and this is a double one, so it's always an issue. Melissa.
Good evening. I don't have too much to report on tonight. Just wanted to let you know a couple of projects going on at the Westbrook Corporate Center. Insurance Auto Auctions has been doing some interior remodeling at their location there. And also the Starbucks has been taken over by Follett, and they've been doing some remodeling as well. So there have been various permits issued for a phasing of those projects. Just so that everybody knows, my department completed 165 inspections last month. We issued 102 permits, and it was about $800,000 in construction value. That's all.
Thank you. Also, what you said to me today was you've purchased a piece of equipment to determine, I don't say light pollution, maybe the wrong verbiage for that, but to determine the lumen requirement on exterior lighting on signs and things of that nature, to make sure that all the signs that are out there are in some type of compliance. Is that not correct?
That's correct. We got a light meter today, so I can take it out and measure the in-foot candles to make sure that all the different signs are in compliance.
Yeah, I guess it's funny that we've had it in our code, and not that we passed it, but it's been in our code for years about lumen restrictions and whatever, and we never had an appliance to determine whether or not that lumen threshold was accurate or incorrect. So thank you for getting that together as well. Miss Jessica, anything? Nothing. Okay. With that, is there a motion to recess? And we'll come back for executive session. We'll
No,
go.
we're gonna adjourn.
Adjourn, I'm sorry. We're going to adjourn this board meeting. That's what I thought. And then we'll go in a committee of whole, and we'll handle the exec session at the end of the committee of the whole. So a motion to adjourn. Celeste.
Second.
Nick Lee. All those in favor of adjourning our board meeting this evening, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say no. We stand adjourned.